Hello, everyone. The system is a multi-language platform. It allows users to log in using any language they require. For example, upon logging out and returning to the login screen, multiple languages are displayed. These are the languages that have been set as system languages. The user selects one of these languages to log in and view the master data in that chosen language. For example, if I select English as the language, I enter the user ID, superuser, and password. To support this, a translation tab is needed, which contains all the translated data. We will now understand how translation works and how to create a translation tab and table using an existing window. For example, search for the screen Configuration in the menu. Select an existing window, which is VA001 and the Product tab. To translate a field, such as the Name field, within the Product tab or Product window, click on Zoom, tick the Translated checkbox, and then save the record. Repeat this step for any other column to make it translatable by clicking its Translated checkbox. To create a new table for translation, go to the Table or View tab and click on New Record. Enter the name of your translation table. The translation table's name must match the main table's name. For example, if the main table is VA001 products, copy this name. Enter it into the new record. The translation table name must be identical to the main table's name, but it must end with _TRL. Ensure the name is adapted accordingly, and then save the record. Next, click on Create Columns from DB to generate the default columns. Now, inside the translation table, go to the Column tab. All the default columns are created. 3 mandatory columns are needed in the translation table. The first column is the primary key, which is the ID of the main table. The ID of our main table is VA001 products ID. Therefore, add this one, VA001 products ID. Set the length of this column and its reference as table direct. Tick the parent link column checkbox and save this record. The second mandatory column is AD_language. Create this column. Its reference is table, and the reference key is AD_language. Tick the parent link column checkbox again, and then save this record. The third mandatory column is istranslated, which is a checkbox. Its reference is yes or no, and then save this record. The last column to add is the one for which the translated checkbox was enabled in the parent or main table. This is the name column. Therefore, add the name column to the translation table. The column name is name. Save the record. Sync the columns in the database. Our table is now ready. Next, create a translation tab. Go to the tab section, then click on New Record. Enter the name of your translation tab. Refresh the Table and View field, then select your table, VA001 products. Tick the checkbox labeled Translation tab, as this checkbox must be ticked for every translation tab. Untick the Insert Record checkbox, then click on Create Fields. Our translation tab is now ready. To test this, first reset the cache and refresh your link. Now search for your window, Products. Next, create a new record. Select the name of your product, for example, Printer. Save the record, then go to the Translation tab. Upon toggling this, the product name is automatically copied. You can then manually edit the printer name in the desired language, for example, Arabic. All 3 languages, Arabic, Italian, and German, are displayed for printer. This occurs because the System Language checkbox is true for these languages. To verify this, search for the Language window. Applying a filter for System Language as true will show all records where the System Language checkbox is enabled. You will observe that these 3 languages are marked as system languages because their checkbox is true. This is why, by default, the printer name, which is the name of our newly created product, is automatically copied for these 3 languages. You can also add an additional language as needed. Then, tick the System Language checkbox. If there are existing records, translations are not automatically created for them. To apply translations to those existing products, follow these steps. First, navigate to the Language window and select your desired language. Then, tick the System Language checkbox according to your requirements. Afterward, click on Process. A pop-up will then appear. You will observe that 3 options are available. The Add Missing Translation option, when selected and confirmed by clicking OK, applies translations to records where translations are missing. All such records are translated automatically. The Delete Translation option is used to delete existing translations. The Recreate Translation option deletes previous translations and then recreates or re-adds new ones. Therefore, select the first option, Add Missing Translation, and click OK. A process will then begin. For records not yet translated, the translation will be applied. The display shows 0 records deleted and 177,653 records inserted. This indicates the total number of records translated into Italian. Once this is done, go to the Translation tab. Here, since Printer is already in Italian, additional records will now be created in the product window. One more system language will now be added. Select a language, such as Dutch, and tick the System Language checkbox. Then click on Process. Save this record. Process it. Again, select the same maintenance mode option, Add Missing Translation, and click OK. Now, go to the Translation tab. The Translation tab is now populated for the selected language, which is Dutch. For example, you can manually translate CPU into Dutch if you know the language. There are different ways to translate data. The first method is manual translation. As previously described, go to the Translation tab, and you can manually translate your record from there. The second method involves using the Translation Management window. This option becomes available after installing the Translation Management module. Navigate to the Marketplace to proceed. Search for the Translation Management module. Once this module is downloaded, you can then use the Translation Management window. After installation, the window will appear as described. On the left side, a list of system languages will be displayed. More languages can also be added by clicking the plus sign. Select your desired language, for example, Spanish. Then select your maintenance mode and click OK. The Spanish language is now added to the system languages. Next, select your table. Select VA001 Products. Now select the column, which is Name. It is visible here because the translated checkbox was ticked on the Name column, and the Name column was also added to the translation table. Next, select the language for translation. Untick all other languages and select only German, as the intention is to translate from the base language to German. You can now manually translate your data. For example, change printer to printers and save the changes. This demonstrates how to manually translate data. An additional option is available on the right-hand side where the Translation tab is located. Clicking on it will reveal further options. You can use Google Translate directly from this interface to translate your data. Simply enter your Google Translate API key and save it. After that, select any record, for example, printer. Then, select the source language as English and enter printer as the text. Next, select German as the target language. Click Get Translation, and the result will appear under the Result field. Finally, click Apply Translation to apply it to the record. Now one more option is available on the top toolbar called Server Translate. Click on it. Then, select the source language as English, the target language as German, the table as Products, and the column as Name. For the translation option, choose Not Translated for untranslated records or All to translate all records. This pop-up sends the instruction to Google to convert all values in the Name column of the Products table from English to German. Clicking OK will initiate Google to translate all product names into German. This covers the translation process, demonstrating how translation functions and how you can translate your data into any specific language you need. Thank you for attending.